Jim, I'd like to start with you and the cricket, because I understand you're a cricket tragic.
Edwina.
And you're a little bit devastated.
Why couldn't we have hit Steve Smith that little bit harder, really? I mean,
According to your wife, the cricket has just been a little bit of a distraction from everything else that's been going on in your life right now.
It's been pretty nightmarish, although we've got Headingley. We can live with Headingley. Ben Stokes and Headingley, that's what keeps me going.
I know nothing about cricket.
Neither do I, but I felt his pain last night when he was talking about it, so I felt like we should bring it up and really rub salt.
Wait for the Rugby World Cup. That's what I say. You wait.
We're sitting on the other side of your face.
Elizabeth, it's such a wonderful family story, this, isn't it? And it's the characters that we fall in love with probably more than anything else. Do you feel that even now with the film?
Yes, I agree with that assessment. I'm not sure what the question is, but
Julian was saying that the success of both the TV series and the film is all down to the fact that we fell in love with the characters.
Yeah, I felt that way myself watching it last night, because it was my first time watching it, and I just felt so happy to see everybody again and to hear the music again and to see the house again. And my guess is that is what is in it for the audience. It's just a pleasure to watch these people and watch them knock up against each other and get into squabbles and resolve the squabbles and have a heartbreak and fall in love and do all those things that families and people endlessly do.
Lots of speculation, Hugh, already about a sequel. You're sort of hypothesising that would start with your funeral.
Yeah, well, it depends. Depends how negotiations go. Obviously, it could be any number of funerals. Let's face it.
Multiple.
There could have been a hideous fire at the Abbey or something. But I don't know. We have to wait and see. It would be. The question has been for years: is there going to be a movie? Is there going to be a movie? And the film hasn't even opened yet, and people are saying, "Is there going to be a sequel? Is there going to be a sequel?" So let's just see. Let's just get the audiences in the door first, and see if the number crunchers can make sense of doing a sequel. It would be fun to. I think the will is there. We had a nice time. It wasn't. It didn't mean months and months or years and years of commitment. It was just a good family reunion, and I think there's an appetite for more, certainly from us lot.
Yeah. You must have discussed this during the TV series and again during the film. The magic of Downton. What is it? Why?
If I knew that, I certainly wouldn't tell you or the viewers because I'd be writing my own version. No, it's so difficult to pinpoint one particular thing. It's the whole elements that go with it. It's the writing, it's the creation of these fantastic characters who are very relatable to. It's the beautiful, it's the way it looks, it's sumptuous, it's the music, it's the countryside. I don't know what it is, it's just everything.
Everything, yeah.
Do you feel like there's something uniquely British about it, or is this a fantasy world that is being created here?
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, back in that day, it wasn't quite like that. We're very fortunate to have Lord and Lady Grantham, who are nice employers as opposed to... I mean, I've read books, housekeeper stories and stuff, and some of their lives were just misery. They had about one Sunday off every month or half a Sunday.
It was really a brutal existence.
It was brutal. And if you didn't have somebody quite benign like they are, then it was really tragically brutal.
I think we often stress, I've noticed other actors doing it in interviews as well, that it is not a documentary about what life was like in this period. It is shot with a loving lens, and it is a fantasy world to entertain and for people to escape into, because it wasn't all the time as happy for all the characters, maybe some of the time.
You get to work now with your wife on the set, although she's upstairs and you're downstairs. Are you feeling that dynamic carries over into your domestic life as well now, Jim?
No. No,
What was your response when she got a call
I
up
think
to the
Imelda's
film?
more Mrs. Patmore than Maud Bagshaw at home. She's a demon cook, and I'm a dab hand with a corkscrew. So I, mean, I suppose in that respect, but I don't have to stand behind her when she eats. So luckily, she allows me to sit down together, and then we both go out and pot around the garden. So yeah, I think it's a slightly different dynamic.
Wonderful. What do you think Lord Grantham would make of politics in Britain today, do you think, Hugh?
I think his main thing it would be manners. I think he would get. We recently, I don't know if you saw it in Australia, one of our leading members of the government slouching all over the chamber of the House of Commons, and I think Lord Grantham would either have him flogged or certainly invite him to Downton Abbey to learn how to sit up properly in places that deserve a bit of respect.
Yes.
There is an etiquette room upstairs for journalists. I'm not quite sure if that's a hint. Do you feel like you learnt something on set that you now carry into your day-to-day existence?
I
Better
like to
table
think
manners,
yeah,
perhaps?
probably better table manners.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think I perhaps put my hands in my pockets less than I used to, because that was a sort of house rule on set that no one crossed their legs and no one put their hands in their pockets.
Oh, I feel like we're
No,
doing
Yeah. That was just a sort of a house style that evolved very quickly, and in fact we even had to reshoot one scene because I had my hands in my pockets. So in the second season I had my dinner dress trousers made without pockets, so I couldn't stray.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
True.
What my pet hate when talking about manners and how to eat and stuff like that, when people hold their knives as if it was a pencil. Have you seen that? And
It's very uncouth.
It drives me. It brings me out in hives.
But
when
so
I see
many of the
that.
manners that we were taught for this were things that, I grew up being slightly older. I grew up with, like, you put your knife and fork in it. You don't talk with your knife and fork in your hand. You put your knife and fork in a straight line when you finish. You clean plate. You don't leave any food on your plate.
No.
Things like that. And elbows not on the table. I was
No.
brought up with that. I don't think we recognised it or lived by it. But that's what we were taught to do.
Definitely.
One thing I'd never come across, and I still find it entertaining, is the idea of turning at dinner.
Oh,
yes. So that
What is this?
well, it's so that if you're in a large dinner gathering, so that you don't you could end up just with no one talking to you, because if both people are turning that way, so therefore the hostess, isn't it, who leads
yeah.
it, will turn either to this person or to that person, so everyone has to speak that way, and then after a certain point in the meal, the hostess turns, and so I was, and it's strange actually. Once since we did the show, I was at a dinner, a fairly formal dinner, and suddenly this lady stopped talking to me and turned away because the hostess had turned. I thought,
No matter how scintillating the conversation,
Yeah, you're stuck.
was,
You've just got to
yeah.
stop halfway
We
through.
tried to do that at a dinner, and it wouldn't work in everyone was just so used to diving in that nobody could do it of just turning one way.
I suppose it's to do with if you've got a wide table,
Yeah.
then you can't really talk across.
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Guess
sure.
Anyway,
Limits
I
your
tried at home
options.
with my wife, so I'm always turning.
One very final question, Jim. Australian fans are such a huge fan of this series and now, no doubt, the film. What's your message to the Australian fans to go see this?
Well, replace Steve Smith as soon as possible, of course. No, I mean, we're delighted. We always get a very... I was in Australia for the 2013 Ashes in Sydney when we were 4-0 down and very quickly went 5-0 down and got a lot of abuse. Hey, Carson, can you play cricket, mate? But I think it's fantastic. Thank you, Australia, for watching. And, I'm glad you enjoy it, and go and watch the movie, please.